Hello friends, welcome once again. I am Manish Maharshi, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Government Dungar College, Bikaner. In this video, we will resume the poem Andre del Sarto by Robert Browning. As we have already discussed that it is a dramatic monologue where Andre is speaking to his wife Lucrezia and they had just finished fighting with each other. Andre is so much tired by this quarreling that out of tiredness and the feeling of resignation he pleads his wife Lucrezia to stop fighting and he will do whatever she wishes. He is ready to perform whatever she wants him to do. And as we move forward, we see that Andre starts recounting how his life and his art has been. He finds that he has achieved a kind of perfection in his art, but still something is missing in his painting. Although he know what that is, but still he is not able to fulfill that missing part. Although he as we see that he can paint the outward lines most perfectly, which many artists wish to paint but they fail in doing that. Still his painting miss the soul. His body is right but his soul is missing, and what is body without soul? Later on he unknowingly tries to find out the reason of his failure as an artist and his failure in life, and tries to seek what or who is responsible for this. First he says that it is the wish of the god that his life and his art should be mediocre, or a sort of twilight, a grayish sort of life and art should his art should be. So he he in a very surrendering way says that what God wish, let that be. But later on he tries to find out more reasons of his failure as an artist, and now we will discuss what he wished to say. Now we will resume the remaining part of this poem. First I will read out the text and then I will explain what he wished to say. There burns a truer light of God in them, in their vexed, beating, stuffed, and stopped up brain, heart, or whatever else, then goes on to prompt this low pulsed forthright craftsman hand of mine. Their works drop groundward, but themselves I know reach many a time a heaven that's shut to me. Enter and take their place there, sure enough, though they come back and cannot tell the world. My works are nearer heaven, but I sit here. Andre, now speaking of his art, says that he has achieved a kind of perfection in his paintings that still he cannot call him a perfect artist, as there is something missing in his art. He calls that missing element the divine inspiration, a light from heaven. So he says that there burns a truer light of heaven in the heart of these artists, and in the light of this 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 heaven, these artists see something and paint something which is denied to him. He can move on the earth perfectly, but flight to heaven is not accessible to him, which is a metaphorical expression of his feeling that he can paint the body of the painting perfectly, but the expression and the impression his painting gives lack that divine grace or light. He says that in their vexed beating up stuffed and stopped up brain, heart, or whatever else, which means that these artists seems agitated, confused, and many a times unkempt, but still he cannot be sure where in their brain or maybe in their heart or whatever else it may be from there they paint their painting that surpasses his painting. He compares himself with them and says that his heart or brain is low pulsed, which means he cannot take the big flights of imagination, whereas his has acquired a kind of skill, a craftsmanship in paintings. Thus he feels that there Works drop groundward, but themselves I know reach many a time a heaven that's shut to me. The painting of these artists have many defects as far as body is concerned, but there is a divine inspiration, a soul in their painting which feels which feels which is denied to him. Andre interestingly notes that these artists visit heaven, and when they come back, they cannot tell the world where they have been, what they have seen, or what happened to them during their flight of imagination. Andre feels defeated, but he is not able to accept his defeat wholeheartedly. It has become difficult for his ego to take his mediocrity and to pacify himself. He compares himself with other great artists. He says, "My works are nearer heaven, but I sit here." He is a very, he, in a very subtle way, pampers his ego, saying that his works are nearer heaven, about to achieve that divine element, but he sit here. He is not able to take that flight. In the next stanza, he says that the sudden blood of these men, at a word, praise them, it boils, or blame them, it boils too. I, painting from myself and to myself, know what I do, am unmoved by men's blame or their praise either. Somebody remarks, Morello's outline there is wrongly traced, his hue mistaken, what of that? Or else rightly traced and well ordered, what of that? Speak as they please, what does the mountain care? Ah, but a man's reach should exceed his grasp, or what's heaven for? All is silver grey, placid and perfect with my art. The verse I know both what I want and what might gain, and yet how profitless to know to shy. In this stanza also, Andre keeps on pampering his ego, and instead of evaluating their painting, he tries to find fault in their temperament and says that the sudden blood of these men, at a word, praise them it boils or blame them it boils too. Speaking so, Andre wants to say that praising or criticizing by others matters a lot for these men. A word of praise make them feel elated, or a word of criticism make them feel depressed. When we will contrast Andre's previous statement, we will find that these faults, if we consider them as fault at all, are basically also present in him also. He in his previous statement asked Lucrezia that she should listen to the praise given to him by legates and the French king himself. Now, being completely oblivious of his statement, he says he is painting for himself and not for anyone else. His art, his art, his is for art's sake and not for anyone outside. He says, I am painting from myself and to myself, know what I do, and I am unmoved by men's blame or their praise either. So, in a very subtle way, Andre tries to defend his failure as an artist and says that he is not concerned at all about the praise given to him or criticism given to him. Andre, to supplement his point, gives an argument that what he has in himself as an artist is natural and godly created. He says that Morel's outline there is wrongly traced, his hue mistaken, what of that? Or else rightly traced and well ordered, what of that? Speak as they please, what does the mountain care? This thus thus in a rhetorical way, Andre says that if somebody criticizes the mountain of Morello for not rightly placed and its color is not good, or whether somebody praises the mountain and says that it has well drawn lines and orderly placed, so what? Mountain is not impacted by these statements of praise and criticism given by the people according to their wishes and according to their comforts. And thus he compares himself with the mountain and says that In the same manner of Morello Mountain, he is also not impacted by the statements of praise or criticism. He does not look for outside effect of his painting and paints for himself what the mountain cares. Ah, but a man's reach should exceed his grasp, or what's heaven for? Andre in these important lines says that it is okay to be satisfied with one's art, but still a man's reach should exceed his grasp, where he whereby he means that one should try to achieve more than what one can do, or one should exceed his grasp to hold more, to get more than his capabilities are. But he feels that one's hopes and aspirations should be so much that they are not able to get fulfilled on earth, but only be attained in heaven or with gods, otherwise there is no point of heaven. He means that one should not see oneself as perfect, but only his imperfection will give him hope for heaven. Real perfection can be achieved only in heaven with God. Thus, in a very clever and subtle manner, he finds excuses for his mediocrity. Very soon, he realizes that all is silvery grey, placid, and perfect with my art. The worse I know both what I want and what might gain. His art and his creation are of mediocre and common, not inspiring, though perfect, perfect in its craftsmanship. What torments him most is that he is not unaware of what is lacking in his painting, what more is needed in him, but even knowing is profitless, because even then he is not able to get them. So he says that how profitless to know to shy. He finds that there is no point in shying or in hankering for what is missing in his art.